Welcome to the deep dive. You know that moment when you've poured your heart into giving someone the best advice? You've laid out every single option, seen them nod along, and then they just, well, they don't do it. Or maybe you've been on the other side, right? Looking at all the self-help books, the gym memberships, all those should-dos piling up, and you just can't quite bring yourself to take that first step.
Yeah, that feeling's familiar.
That universal frustration and that really profound inner struggle, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Our sources circle around one of humanity's oldest and I think most deceptively simple proverbs. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
It sounds simple, but it's really not.
Not at all. This isn't just some quaint old saying. It's packed with layers, philosophical, emotional, psychological. So today, our mission is to peel back those layers. We want to explore how this ancient wisdom applies to, well, modern life, a really individualistic culture, and even the digital age. We're here to extract the crucial insights that leave you truly well-informed on this whole concept, helping you understand not just what it means, but why it still hits so close to home. So let's unpack this.
It's a proverb that's resonated for, well, centuries, precisely because it captures something fundamental about human autonomy. At its core, it means you can provide every opportunity, every piece of guidance, all the support in the world.
Right.
But ultimately, the choice to act or to engage or maybe to heal, that rests entirely with the individual. It's about agency, you know?
Yeah.
And the very real limits of our control over others.
And there's a real sting to that, isn't there? Especially if you're, say, a teacher, a parent, a mentor, or even just a friend trying to help someone you really care about.
Oh, absolutely.
You do everything you feel is right. You offer the clearest path, and then you just watch them resist or refuse or sometimes even self-sabotage. It can feel incredibly frustrating.
It absolutely can. It's a kind of helpless wisdom, maybe, the painful but kind of sacred realization that care doesn't equal control.
Helpless wisdom. I like that.
You can care profoundly, yeah, but you simply cannot override another person's free will. That boundary, as difficult as it is to accept sometimes, is fundamentally sacred.
So this brings up a deeper question, doesn't it? If the horse isn't drinking, why not? It's easy to just dismiss it as, stubbornness.
Right, just being difficult.
Exactly. But our sources suggest there's so much more beneath the surface. Maybe the horse doesn't even know it's thirsty, or perhaps it's been burned by, bad water in the past.
Trust issues.
Yeah. Or maybe it's fear, or some deep-seated trauma, or simply not the right timing. It raises that uncomfortable thought. Are we truly leading them to what they need, or just what we think they need?
That's the crux of it. And this is where empathy and non-attachment becomes so vital. Our water might be pure, well-intentioned, fantastic.
The best water ever.
Exactly. But it might not be what the other person needs or is ready for in that particular moment. And, well, that's okay. This idea also ties into larger philosophical themes like free will itself, which is just essential to human dignity, even when it leads to choices that, frankly, cause suffering. We can clear the path, we can show the way, but ultimately we are not the one walking it for them.
That's a really powerful distinction. It forces us to shift our focus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From being outcome-focused, like did they drink the water, to being more process-focused. Did I do my part in offering it?
Precisely.
It's like a teacher providing incredible tools, but, real learning only happens when the student actually chooses to engage.
Yeah, or a leader who inspires, but you can't just implant motivation into someone's soul.
Right. Or in our personal relationships, we can offer insights, a helping hand, but we can't force growth or forgiveness or healing on our timeline.
In that sense, the proverb becomes this quiet, powerful, boundary-setting mantra. It's a reminder to ourselves to stop trying to carry someone else's inner work for them.
It's genuinely striking how long this wisdom has been around. Our sources show the earliest known version dates all the way back to 1175.
Wow.
Yeah, in Old English, from a text called Old English Homilies. It was something like, how is that made that a horse wetrian the himself newel drinkin?
Okay, say that again.
How is that named that horse wetrian the himself newel drinkin? Which basically translates to, who can give water to the horse that will not drink of its own will? Think about that nearly 1,000 years ago. People were grappling with the same thing.
That's incredible. And it really gained widespread popularity later in the 16th and 17th centuries. It shows up notably in George Herbert's 1640 collection, Jacula Prudentum, as, you may bring a horse to the water, but you cannot make him drink.
So, for almost a millennium, This saying has carried this consistent lesson about the limits of persuasion and, well, the sanctity of individual will. It really makes you wonder about the unchanging parts of the human condition.
It really does.
That's fascinating. And it makes me think about how many other sayings kind of capture this exact tension about autonomy.
Oh, absolutely. You see this core message echoed everywhere. Like, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You hear that a lot in addiction recovery circles. Or, the door must be open from the inside. That's a beautiful metaphor, popular in therapy and spiritual contexts, emphasizing that inner readiness. Then there's, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. A Zen aphorism, right, focusing on timing, they all underline the same idea. External force, no matter how well-intentioned, is secondary to internal willingness.
And we also have advice is least heeded when most needed, which perfectly captures that paradox of resistance during a crisis.
That's true.
Or the blunter one, don't cast pearls before swine from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Offering something valuable to someone who just won't appreciate it.
Yep. Or a gentler version, you can't force a flower to bloom before its time. That focuses more on natural readiness, organic growth.
And of course, preaching to the choir, meaning you're talking to people who already agree, not the ones who might actually change their minds.
And one I always like, the rhyming one. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Often used in rhetoric, psychology, it suggests forced persuasion just doesn't stick.
What's really insightful across all of these is that common thread. Autonomy, the limits of control, and ultimately the wisdom in just letting go. Which brings us to a really crucial tension in modern society, especially with our huge emphasis on individualism and these subtle psychological loops so many of us seem to get caught in.
That's spot on. Western culture, particularly American culture, has historically celebrated this thing called rugged individualism.
Right, the lone cowboy ideal.
Exactly. This deep-seated belief that success, resilience, even healing are purely internal personal achievements. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It often promotes independence at the cost of acknowledging our actual interdependence.
And the heartbreaking result, often, is a culture where people internalize this idea that struggling in silence is somehow more noble than seeking support. It creates this bizarre situation where, on the surface, everyone looks fine and no one feels fine. We're all quietly battling our own horses who won't drink.
And this leads to some really insidious psychological feedback loops.
Yeah.
Think about the first one. Self-sufficiency spiraling into isolation, and then shame.
Okay.
It often starts with that firm internal voice. I should be able to handle this myself. Then, when they inevitably struggle, it turns into, why can't I handle this? Which quickly morphs into, maybe no one can help me, and then tragically ends with, I won't even try again. This is pretty much the definition of learned helplessness.
Like that dog experiment.
Like the dog that's been shocked trying to escape a cage even when the door is wide open later, it just stops trying. People can internalize that same futility. It's heartbreaking.
It really is. And then there's the second loop you mentioned.
Yeah, right. The second loop. Anxiety leading to overcontrol, which inevitably leads to burnout. Anxious people often try to exert control over everything around them to soothe their anxiety.
Which sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting, and that exhaustion, ironically, fuels even more anxiety. It creates this vicious cycle that completely undermines any real confidence and just leaves people totally depleted, but feeling like they can't stop trying to control things.
Wow. It's like trying to put out a fire by just pouring more fuel on it.
Exactly. So if we take the horse and water metaphor and kind of reinterpret it for today, the horse is still the individual, you. But the water now represents things like support, truth, healing, genuine connection, and leading. That's the guidance we offer, the systems we build, the tools, the communities.
The interesting thing is, in modern society, you, the horse, are led to this water constantly, every single day. Think about it. Mental health apps on your phone, self-help books lining shelves, podcasts like this one, motivational TikToks, well-meaning friends, free online resources. The list just goes on and on. There's an absolute ocean of water out there.
There really is.
And yet, so many people still don't drink. Why is that?
Well, our sources point to this surprising tension that explains the paradox. It's often a battle between internal shame and just external overwhelm.
Okay, explain that.
For one, there's shame and pride. To drink, to accept help, or admit need means admitting thirst, right?
Right.
And many equate that with failure. I should know this already. I should be stronger.
Right. I shouldn't need this.
Exactly. Then there's information overload. There's just so much water out there. It makes it incredibly hard to figure out what's safe, what's clean, what's even legitimate.
And let's not forget cynicism and mistrust, right? People
Yeah.
get burned by bad advice or maybe manipulative content.
Definitely. Which leads them to doubt genuine helpers or fear being manipulated again, making them wary of any well, so to speak. And inertia and exhaustion are huge barriers. Depression, burnout, even something like ADHD symptoms can make starting anything, even something good for you, feel utterly impossible.
Just getting started is the mountain.
It really is. Or maybe it's trauma and fear. Past attempts to drink, to seek help, might have backfired badly, leading the horse to associate the well with danger, not relief.
And finally, maybe just overconfidence. Some people really over-identify with being the strong one. They see vulnerability or needing help as a loss of control.
Mm-hmm. And modern culture often subtly, or not so subtly, teaches us that we are our own saviors. But here's the profound question our sources raise. Who helps when you don't know how to save yourself?
Yeah.
Who holds the mirror when you've lost all perspective, maybe stuck in one of those loops? Who interrupts that feedback cycle?
Because the truth is, we are fundamentally interdependent creatures, just pretending to be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spiral. We might know what to do intellectually,
Right, you have the knowledge.
but we just can't make ourselves drink.
Which is why the old proverb, while it's timeless, maybe needs a slight rewrite for our modern context. Instead of just, you can lead a horse to water, perhaps it's more like, you can lead a person to healing, but healing requires safety, timing, and trust, not just access.
Oh, I love that. Or maybe you can show the mirror, but the reflection only speaks when they're ready to see.
Exactly. And to truly break these loops and the cultural myth of pure self-reliance, society really needs a significant cultural shift. We need to move from prizing independence above all towards valuing interdependence.
Yes.
And shifting from self-confidence meaning pride to self-confidence meaning openness. The confidence to actually say, I need help with this. From thinking knowledge equals action to understanding that action often requires supported readiness. From shame in seeking help to seeing honor in mutual aid. And from that isolated just do it mentality.
Right, the Nike slogan, approach to life.
To a more communal, let's do it together.
So the core insight here isn't really that we need more water. We're practically drowning in information and options. It's that we need safer spaces to drink, maybe better pacing, more trauma-informed design in our systems and support structures, and just genuine permission to drink slowly, maybe together.
Which leads us to another really fascinating layer. How modern consumer culture and the pervasive influence of algorithms subtly act like shepherds, leading us into a kind of sheep mentality where our individual will can feel sidelined or even actively reprogrammed. The original proverb assumed the horse was this fully conscious, autonomous actor making a clear choice.
Sure.
But what if the horse today has been conditioned to prefer, say, soda over actual water? What if it's constantly distracted by flashing lights next to the well? Or even subtly taught that thirst is weakness and real hydration is, I don't know, boring?
It's a really sobering thought. In modern consumer culture, we're not just horses maybe choosing not to drink. We're horses being expertly redirected, confused, sometimes retrained to avoid what actually sustains us. Social media, our whole digital ecosystem, has often replaced trusted human guides with these attention-maximizing algorithms. And their core goal isn't our well-being, is it?
Not at all. It's retention. How much time you spend scrolling, how many clicks you make, how many ads you watch, that's the metric.
And this creates kind of sheep mentality, not because people are unintelligent,
No, not at all.
because we are just chronically overstimulated and often undersupported emotionally. Algorithms are astonishingly good at predicting what we're likely to engage with, sometimes better than we know ourselves.
And convenience starts to feel like truth. When something is easy, familiar, or just shown to us over and over,
You start to trust it.
you start to trust it implicitly. Yeah.
And this leads to a really profound distortion of how persuasion even works now. Thinking about what ancient rhetoricians called ethos, pathos, and logos.
Right. Credibility, emotion, and logic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So ethos, credibility, who's trustworthy. In the modern content loop, that's often replaced by follower counts and virality.
Yeah. It's a dangerous shortcut. If it's everywhere, it must be true, right? Which is often totally wrong.
Totally. And pathos, how we feel, that's relentlessly driven by constant outrage or nostalgia or envy, FOMO, the fear of missing out. Products and influencers aren't just selling stuff. They're selling an emotional identity.
And logos, logic, and evidence, well, that's tragically deprioritized, isn't it? It's often replaced by just vibes or sheer repetition or slick aesthetics or even manipulated data presented as fact.
The result, to be blunt, Feels like a public that's constantly drinking, but often from, well, poisoned wells.
Mm-hmm. And this creates a powerful feedback loop of consumer inertia. We feel anxious or lonely or maybe just bored. So what do?
Reach for the phone.
Reach for the phone. We reach for low-effort emotional stimulation, a new product promising happiness, a viral TikTok, a quick hit of likes. The algorithm, being smart, sees what we grab.
And gives you more of it.
Gives you more of the same. We start believing what we see often, trusting what we interact with. Our behavior shapes the system, and the system, in turn, reshapes us.
And this kind of water feels sweet, maybe? Addictive, definitely shallow, and you're never actually hydrated.
Exactly. It works so well psychologically because of basic things like classical conditioning. Think about the ding of a notification.
Pavlov's bell for the modern age.
Pretty much. Your brain associates that sound with a tiny hit of novelty or connection, so you reach for it automatically.
And then there are those variable reward schedules, right? Like gambling. The unpredictability of when you'll see something amazing keeps you scrolling, hoping for that next dopamine hit.
Plus, we're wired for social proof. We tend to trust what others seem to like, especially when we're feeling unsure ourselves. And honestly, in a world saturated with information, trying to apply pure logic, logos to everything, it's often just too hard, too much cognitive load.
So you default to emotion or repetition. Makes sense.
And it's incredibly hard to break free because, well, convenience so easily replaces our actual values.
Like fast food over a nourishing meal, or hot takes over considered truth.
Or influencers over real friends sometimes. Plus, overchoice paralyzes us. There's just too much information, too many options to evaluate, so we end up just following what's curated and pushed at us.
Emotional exhaustion too, right? It just drains the willpower needed to resist the constant pull.
Absolutely. And there can even be a kind of identity collapse where our tastes, our preferences, our very sense of what matters gets outsourced to whatever content trends are dominant.
So modern consumer culture shouts, drink whatever you want, you're free.
But the reality is often more like, you're being subtly led to content designed to bypass your rationality, stimulate your base emotions, and capitalize on your boredom or your pain.
Wow. So we're not just refusing the good water. We've often been thoroughly convinced that the real stuff isn't as tasty or popular or trustworthy as the sugary swamp we've been conditioned to prefer. So what on earth can we do to reclaim some agency here?
Well, it's about a critical kind of reclaiming, I think. We need to rebuild our internal ethos trust, built on personal reflection and our own inner values, not just popularity metrics or follower counts.
Okay.
We also need to reclaim our attention. Attention is the new currency, right?
Yeah.
And consciously withdrawing it, choosing where it goes, that's a powerful act of resistance.
And we absolutely need to deprogram ourselves, maybe. Question those quick emotional attachments we form to content or products. Ask ourselves, wait, who actually profits from my affection and my attention here?
That's a great question to ask. We need to consciously reintroduce logos, foster environments, even just in our own minds, where logic and critical thinking are still sacred and respected.
And finally, maybe we have to support friction. Except that good water sometimes requires a hike. Convenience isn't always what's actually good for you.
Which brings us to perhaps the most profound insight in this whole deep dive. The absolute priceless value of messy human connection. We live in an age that really prizes frictionless answers, right? From AI, from Google, from quick TikTok explainers, we want minimal effort, maximal payoff.
Yeah, instant gratification.
And this makes real life, and especially real people, feel incredibly inefficient by comparison. Your friend gives you clumsy, emotionally tangled advice. Your family member stumbles over their words trying to help. Conversations meander. They take time.
Compared to the internet, real people can feel like frustratingly slow search engines.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. This is the quiet, sort of existential cost of our optimization culture. This relentless pursuit of a frictionless existence that quietly erodes the very texture, the struggle, the mess that makes life meaningful.
So while AI and influencers might give us insight,
Right, clean data points.
our friends and family give us intimacy. Even if the former is technically more accurate sometimes, the latter is profoundly more human. Because advice isn't always about perfectly solving a problem, is it?
No, often it's not.
Sometimes it's just about feeling seen, about working through something together, even if it's imperfectly. It's the shared presence that matters.
You put it perfectly earlier when you mentioned that listener insight. Avoiding difficult social interactions is like trying to play a video game without any enemies.
Right.
To extend that metaphor, friction equals growth. Conflict creates the story. Miscommunication is the puzzle, and the repair, working through it, that's the reward.
So when we offload everything, hard social navigation, emotional repair, vulnerability onto digital surrogates, we rob ourselves of character development. It's like automating your life into a speed run.
Yeah.
But you miss all the side quests, the companions, the deep lore that truly makes the game worth playing in the first place.
That's such a great analogy. Online advice is curated, it's edited, decontextualized, often purely parasocial. It might be technically sound, sure, but it can feel, well, soul thin, as you said.
Yeah, lacks depth.
Real-life advice, on the other hand, it's messy. It's filtered through emotion and imperfection. It might sometimes even be wrong, but it's offered in presence. It's an invitation to dialogue, not just a download of information.
When someone gives you advice in real life, face to face, they're not just trying to solve your problem. They're often saying, I want to be in this with you. Let me walk beside you for a bit. Even if they stumble over their words, that effort, that shared presence,
Yeah.
it feels sacred somehow.
And there are clear psychological reasons why we're so tempted to avoid that messiness. There's a cognitive bias where we mistake clarity for truth or assume polish equals authority. Then there's just plain emotional laziness. Vulnerability is scary, and conversations with real stakes take effort and risk rejection.
And we often operate under the sense of time compression, right? Wanting fast resolution, not lingering dialogue. Plus, digital reward structures offer that instant gratification.
While real people, well,
Yeah.
they offer unpredictable pacing. They're not optimized for our convenience.
And the consequence is, when we outsource everything to systems that prioritize speed, consistency, and immediate pleasure, we start to lose our tolerance for reality itself.
You're absolutely right. And people often don't regret the messy conversations they actually had. They regret the ones they avoided.
That's true.
The vulnerability they suppressed, the people they maybe drifted from because connection just felt too hard. And when we look back, it's usually not the perfect advice we remember, is it?
No, not at all.
It's who held space for us, who tried, who stayed present in the awkwardness, even when they had absolutely no idea what to say.
Life is definitely not an FAQ page. It's a dialogue. It's like a co-written, messy first draft. Perhaps the purpose of being human isn't always to drink the right water or the cleanest water. Maybe it's just to stand at the river with someone and try to figure out together if it's safe to drink. And that shared figuring out, that's exactly what we lose when we trade true, messy connection for fleeting convenience.
Which brings us to a really profound goal that emerged from our sources. Sometimes it's not about getting that perfectly distilled water, the absolutely right answer. Sometimes it's actually good to take a sip from a friend or family member, even if the water isn't as delicious or expertly filtered as something from, I don't know, a vending machine.
Right.
Because that act itself builds trust, it builds connection, it strengthens the bond between you.
Exactly. The aim, as you put it so beautifully in the sources, is maybe to offer more water even if it isn't perfectly distilled. And maybe to be willing to drink more water even if it isn't perfectly tasty, because it's natural and real and offered from a place of actual care.
In a world full of soft drinks, metaphorically speaking, where our horses are bombarded with choices, craving taste and convenience over truth and genuine connection, that old proverb, you can lead a horse to water but you can't make them drink, definitely needs an update, or at least some added nuance. And yes, sometimes the water is polluted. It's genuinely bad advice or misinformation. That leads to a valid distrust of imperfect sources. That's a real and important distinction to make. We're not saying drink poison just because someone offered it.
No, of course not. But we're starting to believe, based on this exploration, that not every sip is solely about the quality of the water itself. Sometimes the act of drinking, of receiving, even briefly, means something else entirely.
What do you mean?
It can mean, I trust you enough to try this. It can mean, I value this moment we're sharing, even if it's messy. It can mean, I see that you're offering something of yourself here, not just some slick, prepackaged solution.
That kind of shared water might not be sweet or trendy or optimized for our immediate goals. It might be, lukewarm or a little gritty, like you said.
Yeah.
But it's real. It was drawn from a well of care, hopefully not a pipeline of profit or algorithms.
And maybe we want to be the kind of person who offers this water, even if it's not perfectly distilled, filtered, and flavored with motivational quotes. Maybe we want to be willing to drink the kind of water that tastes like effort and presence and human imperfection.
Because when we only reach for what's perfect, we so often lose what's personal. There's something truly, I think, sacred in letting ourselves be messy horses at a quiet stream, just trying together.
Sipping slowly, sometimes spitting it out.
Sometimes spitting it out, sometimes laughing at the taste, but always returning, maybe not just for the water, but for each other.
There are important nuances here, of course. Like you said, not all flawed advice is safe to sip. Discernment is still absolutely needed. We need to sip to connect, maybe, but not blindly comply if it feels wrong. Be open, but keep your critical filters on.
Right, and different people offer water in different capacities. A friend might not say the technically right thing, but they're showing up, their presence, that can be the water. What often matters isn't just how pure the water is, but the effort and the intention behind the offering.
And convenient digital water, it absolutely has its place and its value. It's not inherently bad to seek clean, filtered, fast access information online. The goal isn't to reject that completely,
Yeah.
but maybe to recognize when it's becoming a substitute for deep human engagement. Not every question needs a connection, perhaps, but maybe every connection deserves to be more than just a means to an answer.
And it will inevitably hurt sometimes when offering water is misread or just flat out rejected. Some people simply won't drink no matter how lovingly you offer it.
That goes back to the original proverb.
It does. But maybe we offer anyway, and we learn to detach from the outcome. Because offering water, showing up with care, is also how you stay hydrated, in a sense. It reminds you that you care, that you're real, that you're willing to show up.
And the ritual of shared sipping, that messy, clumsy process of working through something together,
Yeah.
that is the relationship, isn't it? That's how insight often emerges in real time, strengthening trust. Even if the initial advice wasn't perfect, even awkward conversations can build real intimacy. And, this deep dive itself, this conversation we're having, it's a form of offering water. It's not perfectly packaged. It's not algorithmically boosted to go viral.
Hopefully not.
But it's human, it's thoughtful, and hopefully genuine. Some of you listening might scroll past. Some might take a sip. Some might even fill their own cup from this and offer it back in some way. And that's how we return to something ancient and valuable, even in our fast-paced digital age.
In a world where the cleanest answers so often seem to come from screens, and the most delicious drinks are meticulously engineered for craving, we really don't want to forget the profound value of messy human water.
We want to offer more of it. Imperfect, sincere, sometimes awkward, because offering is how we stay truly connected. And maybe we want to drink more of it, even if it's a little gritty, because sipping together matters so much more than drinking alone imperfectly.
The point isn't always to be right, or even to always be perfectly helpful in the way we planned.
The point, maybe at its most fundamental, is just to show up with a cup in your hands and simply say, I thought of you. I brought water. Will you sit with me a while?